Go baby, what's good guys? Yoku here, and a viewer asked me a random question while I was on stream right before I started watching the Yojimbo video. So this video that you're watching is actually like a segment to that because I kind of ranted for like 10 minutes. I don't know how I did that, but it's me. I do those kind of things. Anyway, the video topic in question is basically Zenless Zone Zero is kind of like losing its identity. Kinda is a stretch, but I feel this way. I go over why I feel this way. There's a couple different things we talk about, but at the end of the day, this is pretty much something that I feel like we can use as a means of talking about what used to be, if that makes sense. Also, this is a way bigger problem, and at this point, I think it is a problem. I've been sitting on this for like the last month and a half, really, and it's going on 2 months by this point. By the time November gets here, it'll be about 2 months that I've been thinking about this. I've been resonating with this, and I do feel like at some conclusion, Zenless is kind of falling off. Not as a game. I don't think Zenless itself is falling off as a game because the player count is growing. I think the interest is dying out. But again, that's a whole different video that we'll talk about. This video is kind of like a little bit of a teaser, if you will, like a micro section to talking about that. But once I get back, I'm leaving for DreamHack. So by the time you watch this video, this entire week, I'm just gone. I'm just not here. So whatever day this gets uploaded, I won't be here until the next week after it gets uploaded. But once we get back, I'll be on stream. We'll talk about everything and I'll see you then. All right, cool. Bye. Mal, you said, I think too many people are obsessed or too focused on endgame. I see where you're coming from too. I feel like maybe it's fair to say that there are two different groups or a couple different groups, right? So you have the group that's focused on endgame because that's what they're playing a lot of. And then I think you have the group that's not really focused on endgame. They're focused on the game as a whole. So the events, the story, new characters, new side quests, things like that. And they're having a little bit more fun with the game overall. There is something that we could talk about, which I feel like would be its own video in a sense, but I do think low key, high key, I think Zenless has lost its essence. I think the identity that Zenless had as its game, not before the end game, right? As a game, I think Zenless has slowly lost that. And some things, sometimes it feels like they're bringing it back. And then other times it just feels like it's just non-existent. What do I mean by that? Okay, so one of the things in the beginning, very early on, was the comic book style of storytelling, but more importantly was the persona-like vibe, right? Being able to grab a character and you walk the city with them. They were showing that off a lot early on in Zenless's lifespan, or the launch of Zenless, right? The wonkiness or the wackiness, just it was much more comic book cartoony feel, with a little bit of persona mixed in there in terms of like being able to use social ranks and what you said or did with certain characters would improve them or their relationship with you. There was a lot that made Zenless at its identity, at its core, a game that would be more interesting to casually play and have end game for it, right? So you kind of crush both of them that way. As of recent, and by recent, this has been patches worth, right? As of late, it feels like none of that is here anymore. You know, we've been begging them to bring back this camera event, this new camera event, just because it's super fun. It comes with all kinds of crazy animations or stills that we can make from the pictures. And I'm almost positive they're gonna take it away again. Like they're gonna make it limited. They're not gonna keep it permanent. And it's like, you should just make this a permanent thing in the game. The arcade mode, we haven't gotten a new arcade mode in, correct me if I'm wrong, chat. I don't think we've gotten a new arcade mode since, wasn't it Lighter? When Lighter's little event got here, maybe a little bit after Lighter, that's when we got that. I don't think we've gotten a new arcade game since. Same thing with the Fall Guys event, right? I think Fall Guys itself is permanent, like they added it to the permanent event, but there's nothing new about it. You have an entire game put inside of Zenless Zone Zero. And I know this is a little like side tangent or whatever at the beginning. I apologize for those that are watching this video, but this is some stuff that I do kind of want to just bring out so that you guys are more aware of where I stand with the game right now. Bizarre Brigade multiplayer was the last arcade event that we got. When was that? After Lighter? That might have been after Lighter, but we haven't gotten anything since, and I know it's been months. So if that's the case, you have an arcade mode. I've talked about this before, where like the arcade mode is basically a cheat code. No other game has this arcade mode. The only thing that's closest to it now is Genshin Impact's Millie Astra Wonderland, the UGC mode that they just released. That's the closest thing that any other gacha game has to an arcade mode, or the arcade mode for Zenless Zone Zero. And unfortunately, Zenless isn't taking advantage of that at all. Arcade would be something that you could easily get so many people interested in just by taking other games. You know, Dig Dug, that's really some old people shit, right? 70s, 80s, whatever. But Dig Dug, something a little bit more modern, is a Pokemon style game. If you don't want to do that, you have Mega Man. I talk about that all the time, right? Any of the Mega Mans, Battle Network, ZX, Mega Man X, or just base Mega Man, so Rockman. You could take anything, the concept alone, and you just slap it in the game. Beat 'em ups, right? In the Ninja Turtles game, Power Rangers, you could literally turn that into all the Zenless characters. You could make it into a beat 'em up. And then we already have co-op. That's the only form of co-op in the game, is through the arcade, right? You could quite literally take that same thing and then put the Zenless characters in the game. Imagine if they made a game called The Cunning Hare's Escape or Trouble in New Iridu City, and the 4 characters that you had to play with would be Nekomata, Billy, Anby, and Nicole. Boom, Ninja Turtle style or Power Ranger style, like old, you know, PlayStation 1, right? Or SNES style gameplay, you know? And we recently have some of these games being remade, but that's not really the most important thing, yeah? Point being is that you've seen a beat 'em up game before. 4 characters on the screen, just like Streets of Rage, which we've already seen that with the lighter stuff. Streets of Rage, boom, and then you just go around beating crap up. And you have little stages or modes in the game that would absolutely work. It keeps players' attention. They don't have to sit here and play this shit for 20 hours a day, but it lets them play something that's not just, hey, let's go do end game, hey, let's do story, whatever. You know, that is so important, not to every gacha game, but specifically to Zenless, because they have the ability to do it and they have the connection, just like I talk about with the fighting game stuff, right guys? Oh, Capcom has this, they have access to Capcom, they have direct communication with Capcom, blah 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 blah. All they have to do is borrow. And you might think to yourself, oh, well, that's not true, or like they can't easily do that. They've been doing it since the beta. Like Nicole has the 360 input. Bon Yu, I'm not going to talk about the leaks, but Bon Yu has motion inputs, and he has light, medium, and heavy combos or attacks to make combos. He has different, the character is literally a fighting game character. Like, and unless they take it away, you're not gonna hear me shut up. I'm gonna keep repeating that. Same thing with Lighter. They just did that. Literally, Lighter had a beat 'em up stage, the Streets of Rage or whatever it was that he had. They had that for Lighter's little event. It was that thing. Githari with the hammer. She has Monster Hunter animations from the hammer. That is from Capcom. Like bar for one. You can go and look at it. Boom, it's right there. The same thing happened with Seth. Seth has the same things with the Charge Blade and whatnot. All of it goes into there. So it's like, it's a really good, the opportunity is there. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Anyway, let's actually jump into the vid. Or at this point, I mean, I feel like low key that might just, this is 8 minutes. This might just be its own video. I apologize of how it started off. So I'm legit. So what we're gonna do for the remainder of this video that you guys are watching right now, we're gonna yap for like 2 more minutes so that ads go away and that everyone on stream who's watching this can actually enjoy the Yojimbo section that we're getting ready to go into. But that's kind of it. I guess I'll open up the floor with Q&As. Not a fighting game character, hack and slash. Yeah, honestly, Nix, I could take that too, right? Like, it doesn't really matter to me what we call Bon Yu whenever he does come out. The point being is that he has notable things that exist from both aspects that we could easily associate with. When do you think Zenless took competitive into the mainstream focus? Because it doesn't feel like the community was really focused this hard on Deadly Assault. When it dropped, it used to be play new bosses, try to get the rewards, if not new rotations in 2 weeks. Sorry, that's a really good question. I feel like that change happened after the community blew it the fuck up. And so I'm not gonna blame Saint for that because that's not really his fault. But I think that would be, if you're looking for a moment that it happened, I think it's around that time. Around the time that miasma was made a more prominent thing, it was becoming like, oh, miasma is gonna be a huge deal. You should do this, you should do that. Around that time is when I think players started to really understand what type of game Zenless was, especially at endgame. And then they started to take it more seriously, either in a positive manner or a negative manner. Positive being that they take it seriously and they want to improve, so they keep aiming for a higher, you know, score or speed clear. Negative manner being that they don't take it as seriously to improve. They take it more seriously to complain or to try and get it, you know, reversed. I think that's more along the lines of what happened. But to dig into it a little bit deeper and like, I guess maybe the why effect of that, or like the results of that, Zenless was already doing things or trying to do things when it comes to the end game. They just, I don't really think they knew what they wanted to do. And even now, I still don't think they know fully what they want to do. I think they're just trying stuff, and some things work, some things don't. Now they have a much, I'd say they have a much more clear understanding, or a line at least, that they can follow along. I saw something in Dwarf's video recently where he talked about this, and he mentioned the bar. He said that the goal is always 20K, right? So like the developers don't give a f really about somebody hitting 65K or 60K. That's not where they're putting the bar. Okay, the bar is 20K, 25K. That's where they're setting that difficulty. They're trying to make it so that if the average player is trying to get their 20K, they want them to struggle a little bit, but they still want them to be comfortable enough to get your 20K, right? So in this case, it's like, oh, I had to learn a proper combo with my DPS to go from 18K to 20K. Okay, the game wants you to do that, right? And then you keep going from there. If it was something along the lines of like where they want you to, hey, I'm struggling to get my 15K, it means the bar is too high for these type of players, this group of players. But Dwarf had a whole section on it that I think is really important, really good, that I don't want to like bar for bar that, right? But it's nice. It is nice, bro. Oh, you know what? And then Michael mentioned it too. Nikke constantly updates his arcade mode. I completely forgot about that. Nikke's arcade mode is fucking fantastic too. Shit, Zenless, rob from Nikke. Nikke has some great arcade modes, and it can't take that much to put in the game because Nikke is doing it every patch. Every update, there's a new arcade mode with the story, with the events, and then some of them are permanent now. So like you could absolutely just do that. But that's gonna be the end of that video, guys. Again, I know the intro is like slightly different, so I apologize, but it is what it is. Let me know some things that you guys might want to change or see being involved in Zenless Zone Zero, because I do feel like they're losing their identity in that fact. But this is just a little bit of a yap session. Now we're gonna get into the actual Yojimbo video here, but I gotta redo the intro. So, oh wait, no, I don't. I can just take that intro and use it for whatever. Anyway, I can't say I'm gonna use the outro because it's inappropriate for you to like the video, comment, subscribe. I'll see you later.